And welcome on this Thursday, where it's still Jared McCain mania after last night's loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers. But the vibes have been good around the young fella as we try to figure out what his role is going to be going forward, even when the Big Three return. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Podcast, presented by our good friends from Bet365. Bet365, of course, never ordinary. And when you check in with Bet365, make sure you type in PHLY basketball in there, right there for you. Perfect timing, right there for you. Presented by, again, Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Derek Bodner, Devon Givens, Kyle Newbeck. He's off. He's at the football game tonight. Big game in South Philly. Philadelphia hosting Washington. He's tailgating. He's going to need some Coors Lights to choose chill throughout the tailgating experience, maybe even during the game. So if you're heading down to the game later on tonight, look out for Kyle Newbeck. Bree is here. All of you are in the chat. Derek, 34 points last night for the rookie. We spoke to you and Kyle last night after the game. And while, they lost their 9th game of the season. They look pretty good while doing so. They did not have their big three out there. But we were still talking positively last night about the basketball team, about the basketball game, and specifically about Jared McCain and what he has turned himself into this early in the season.
Yeah, and it really was, sitting down there and watching that game unfold. First of all, you went into it with no expectations. Like, you thought it was going to be ugly. I'm like, Kyle and I were sitting there, we're like, man, I'm really glad that, Devon has this one because, it's going to be a tough post game to do. But they gave you and Rich something to talk about, which I didn't expect. They took the Cavs. Cavs needed big plays from their star players down the stretch to even pull that one out. But it's not even that it was a close game, right? Because you've seen undermanned teams. You've seen, teams be favored, come in, take a team for granted, have to put their foot on the gas in the fourth quarter and pull away easily. We watched that for 3 years here on the other side of it with the process Sixers. So it's not the fact that game was close that was fun. It was how that was close. And it really is, I'm in a weird spot because I feel like I'm more optimistic about this team than I have been in quite a while, even though they are 2-9, even though you're sitting here and this is the worst start to a season since the process. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it, and two players who you really didn't have much expectations for in Yabusele and McCain are so drastically outperforming what your expectations were. And crucially, with skill sets that I think you really, really need. Yabusele, I think the hustle has been eye-opening. The floor spacing has been eye-opening. Mm-hmm. Some of the connective passing has been eye-opening, especially when you compare it to the other center that is currently playing. And I think some of those offensive splits really reflect the fact that he is so much more capable of a passer and ball mover. And Jared McCain, who right now is your second or third best shooter on the team, your second or third best passer on the team, and for him to pop the way he has, it is on the one hand, and look, we were on our live show, draft show on draft night. Our thoughts are out there, and I think my thoughts for the most part were, I think this kid has a chance of, making the most of his physical tools, but I really worry about the physical tools as a defensive fit next to Maxey. But I think one of the key is his skill set is almost exactly what you would want on the offensive side of the floor between Paul George and Maxey and Embiid, that I think he can work in sort of like that hybrid on-ball, off-ball role that you need in a guard next to Maxey. The defensive concerns are still there. They're not going to really go away until you get a chance to see them in the postseason. Playing a team like Boston, I'm going to be very concerned about that backcourt defensively, but I am more a believer in his offensive skill set. I'm more a believer in him as a stabilizing influence around this core. I'm more, I'm more confident in his ability to succeed both on ball and off ball. And he's just shown so much more shot creation juice and passing and ability to get to his spots, even though he's not the quickest, and leveraging his shot to get into the paint and leveraging just the change of direction, that I think he can very legitimately play at this level, play right now as a 20-year-old, and I would have never said that a month ago.
No, and Rich and I have a little fun, but just because of the draft night conversation where we all had, and we all felt that he was a good player, just the matchup, the fit with Tyrese Maxey, and we said, you know what, hey, let this thing play out, see what it looks like. But even in our wildest dreams that we expected to turn out the way that it has turned out through 10 games, because even at the start of the West Coast trip, that was just 5 games ago. He played 4 minutes against the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, he was out of the rotation.
He didn't play. Yep. And he played against the Clippers. He played against the Lakers, and he showed himself pretty well out there on the floor. But it's really when Tyrese Maxey went down, forced to give him some more minutes because you don't want to overtax, of course, Kyle Lowry. They weren't ready to go to Reggie Jackson. Eric Gordon wasn't showing enough. But it was also because Jared McCain started to show those little things that gave Nick Nurse the comfortability to put him in the lineup instead of Eric Gordon or even Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson had a nice game last night with his 13 points off the bench. They needed every bit of it to keep themselves in that game. So a nice spark from him. But for McCain to be where he is right now, with the questions that we had, not just the defensive questions, but the ball handling questions. Well, we were discussing it just a few weeks ago. Well, at least he's showing us a little bit that he can put the ball on the floor. Now he's showing us a lot that he can put the ball on the floor in his way, not being sped up, not being forced to do something that's out of what his profile allows him to do. He knows exactly what he wants to do, where he wants to go, what he wants to do, and not get pushed off of that type of idea of what he wants to do based on what the defense is and how they're defending him. He's doing all of those things. And then you talk about the no-dip three-point shot. Yep. He was 0 in the month of October. Not a lot of shots, not a lot of attempts, not a lot of opportunity, but he is now shooting over 40% in the month where he has 6 games now under his
10
belt.
attempts per game, too.
And they have gone up each game from 8 to 10 to 13 last night where he was 6 for 13, shooting 4%. Shooting about 6 per game right now for the Philadelphia 76ers and giving them another player who can just flat out shoot the basketball. So when we were discussing and throwing around, hey, what are the rotations and what are the starting lineups going to look like? We had the 3 wings, but pay attention. There just might be an opportunity for Eric Gordon to be a starter. Jared McCain, we'll see him in Delaware a few more times. We'll make those trips to Delaware to see him and a Dembona, see how they look. Well, now the conversation, Derek, shifts to, should Jared McCain be a starter for the Philadelphia 76ers in the backcourt with Tyrese Maxey once the big 3 return? And while we did get a little bit of what that might look like against the Knicks on Tuesday night, Tyrese Maxey did not play, but George and Embiid were out there. And I loved his answer once again. I'll say it here with Derek here, who was not here when I had a chance to say this last night. I loved his answer of playing off of Joel Embiid. It was your video that you had out there, Derek, of him just simply saying, I said simply because he said simply, it's very simple to play off of Joel Embiid. Very easy. You just shoot the basketball, you come around the screen, shot ready, take your shot, knock it down, hopefully, and then you go off the dribble handoff. Once again, you have a lot of space created because you're playing off of Joel Embiid. Take the shot, hopefully it falls. It's very simple. He is making it very easy for you to like him, to not question a lot of things that he's doing out there on the floor. He's eventually going to hit a rookie wall. But for right now, the question again, as we start off with all of you in the chat and Derek here asking, should he be considered for a starting role when those guys come back?
There's no question in my mind.
He's probably going to start tomorrow with Embiid and George playing in the backcourt.
And that'll be great to see because I really think those
maybe
3.
He won't because Kelly Oubre and
I would start him tomorrow. I don't know what they're going to do. Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I would. I think he is creating more passing lanes. I think he is creating more advantages. I think he's making more passes. And look, I think Kyle's a really good passer who is, a borderline basketball genius. I think he's a really smart basketball player. But part of passing is also creating advantages. And people just are not scared of Kyle Lowry getting into the paint. They're not. He's taken a handful of 2-point shots all season, about 1 a game. They're not scared of Kyle Lowry really coming off of a screen the way they are, McCain. And when defenses react to your presence, that opens up passing lanes. So part of passing, part of shot creation is forcing those rotations. And McCain's just doing it better right now. I could certainly see them wanting to start Lowry because of a stabilizing influence and decision-making. And I think Jared's decision-making has actually been really good. We picked on him a little bit early on in the season for some of his blown defensive miscues. But first of all, I think that's gotten much better, and I expect that to get better as the season goes on. But offensively, I think his decision-making has been really good, and he handled some pressure on the perimeter really well last night, I thought, including Nick Nurse pointed out, and I posted this on Twitter, they threw a box and 1 at him, and he was fine with it.
I got to give credit to Rich last night. He was like, did they just run a box and 1 on that? We were sitting there on the couch. Did they just run a box and 1? And I was like, I didn't see it. Let's go back. Next play, they took it off. But it was reaffirmed when Nick Nurse said it last night. That's crazy.
They were, trapping him on the perimeter, and he was dumping it off to the short roll guy. He was just making a lot of good decisions with the ball. Yes, I think he should start not only tomorrow, but also when Embiid and George and Maxey are all in the lineup. I think he is the fifth. My starting five right now would be McCain, Maxey, Paul George, Caleb Martin, and Joel Embiid. And I want to keep, and Kyle has been hammering this point home, I agree with him 100%. I want to keep Caleb and Paul George. And look, I think some people are going to say, like, well, what does starting really matter? And to some degree, I agree. I think we can make a little too much of starting as long as he has a consistent role in the rotation, whether that's 20, 25, 30 minutes per game. I agree with that. But two things. First of all, I want to keep McCain tied to Joel Embiid's minutes. I think those two have really good synergy. I think their skill sets can really mesh well. So I want, starting first and third is going to be a big part of that. Even more key, though, you do want to make sure that McCain is on the floor when Tyrese Maxey is not. So that would be the one argument against it. But I just think McCain has the kind of skill set where he can switch between those two roles pretty seamlessly.
Yeah.
So I would start him. I think he has been the more if you're looking at the four options, right? There is Oubre, there is Lowry, there is McCain, and then there is
potentially Gordon.
Yeah, Gordon. Of those four, he has been the most consistent by far, especially over the last 2 weeks or so. There's that adjustment period at the beginning. There's and of those four options, there's only one of them that's a significantly better defender. I would say, Lowry at this age is still a better defender just because he has the smarts and the anticipation. Oubre is certainly a better defender. Gordon theoretically could be and certainly was earlier in his career, but I think he's slowed down enough where he is at least a comparable defender to McCain. And I just think McCain's potential and McCain's threat and the way that shot and that passing and all of that can open things up for Paul George and Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. I think you put him out there. I think he can both run your offense, and look, when you're playing alongside Joel Embiid, you're not running the offense in a traditional sense, but he can both be the nominal point guard and also excel in off ball. I like that versatility. Yeah, I think he's a starter right now. Yeah, and look, it might overwhelm him, right? Like you might get a month from now and all right, he's not ready for it. But I think you at least try it. I really do.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, he started last night. He was fine last night.
Certainly not overwhelmed there.
He played against the best team in the NBA, who are on a 12-0 win streak, 12-game win streak. They were going for 13. They stayed in it. You mentioned the boxing one already, how they were defending him. They were picking him up full court. They had given him different looks where it was Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro. Isaac Okoro has a better defensive profile than Karis LeVert, but Karis LeVert, 6'4", 6'5", with some length to him. Try to keep up with him. He's a veteran. He can get a little physical with them, try to bump him off his spots. Isaac Okoro, again. Then you have Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. They were throwing everything at him. Double teams. He was on the scouting report, and it was very clear of how they're going to take away. They even forced him to take some tough shots early on. It was down the end of the Cleveland basket and with the media sit where Derek and Kyle were, so they could see it right there from the very beginning of the game, where they were forcing him to take those shots, those layup opportunities, trying to get it off the glass, trying to get a good spot off the glass to bank it in. We always talk about, well, I know I specifically talk about with Tyrese Maxey, likes to have those levels on the backboard that he likes to hit for the basketball to hit on the levels of the backboard. Jared McCain has to get that down. That didn't discourage him, though, from continuing to try it, continuing to try to get back there, taking those shots from beyond the three-point line. And then the thing that we also talked about, if you are good, while the mid-range game is something that we talk about that's a no-no in today's NBA, we've asked for Tyrese Maxey to continue to take mid-range jump shots to help out his driving ability and, of course, his outside shooting. But with Jared McCain and the fact that we thought that he would have trouble finishing at the rim to take those mid-range shots.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. He is now doing that. So he is implementing every level of the floor, of the offensive side, to his benefit to get these shots off. He has done everything, checking off every box so far here. We're not making him out to be an all-star. We're not making him out to be a 75-game starter.
I'm also not making Eric Gordon out to be an all-star.
No, we are not.
Who you're competing against.
No, we are not. We're simply looking at what they have for right now, what we didn't think they had, even as early as the preseason, in this guy. And I brought it up last night. It somehow clicked. And I brought it up last night of Joel Embiid calling him the best player in training camp through 3 days.
Caleb Martin did too.
And Nick Nurse had him as one of his stars for day one. And I thought about that, and I threw it back at Rich and threw it to Kyle. I don't think you were there yet, and I threw it to Kyle, but That was something that was said, and we were like, Joel's just being a great teammate, a great veteran for his young guy, and here he is saying something that's a little bit outlandish. We saw him in Summer League. He's not there yet. How did he change in 2 months? Well, Derek, maybe Joel Embiid was on to something.
Yeah. No, and look, I could certainly see, and look, training camp can be weird, right? Like, veterans come in, and they're not fighting for anything, so they're not necessarily going 110%. Jared McCain's coming in, he's fighting for something. Like, I always remember going back to Iguodala, and Iguodala apparently completely dominated Glenn Robinson, and that was a little bit of, he's just hungrier, and he has more to prove. Obviously, it portended well the rest of Iguodala's career, but there is certainly a hungriness factor to rookies in training camp. But that hungriness is a core part of Jared McCain's game. I don't think that's just him trying to prove something. I think that's how he has excelled as a basketball player. And there's certainly a part of me that, especially on this team, when you're talking about role players, right? You're not talking about guys who can develop into carrying an offense. You're not talking about guys who can change a franchise. When you're talking about someone developing into an elite role player, that desire, that trustworthiness, that decision-making, that hungriness, I think that's a huge component. And I think that's a big part of how he has developed and made the most of his admittedly relatively limited physical tools. And it's like that dependability is just something I value in role players.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we need to talk about what that might look like. We got a glimpse of it on Tuesday with Embiid and Paul George in the lineup, with Jared McCain out there on the floor in a finishing role, by the way, closing the game out against the New York Knicks. We're going to talk about that on the other side, what that might look like when the three stars, if and when the three All-Stars get back into the lineup for Nick Nurse's team. Jared McCain, a starter? Yes or no for you? We're discussing it here on this Thursday, right here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast. And I have to tell you about, as I sit here today, Derek asked me as a good friend hey, do you want to go play some basketball? Sure I do. You know why? Because I'm all healed up. I'm all put back together by my good friends from Rothman Orthopedics. I am one, just like you, that I have a specialty in terms of sports that I love. I still love to play basketball, still like to be active enough to think that I can go out there, even at my age, and play some ball and feel like I can score on some people, maybe slow them down defensively as well. And the only reason I'm able to do that now, after suffering those two major injuries in my ACL and my Achilles, is thanks to Rothman Orthopedics. And at Rothman Orthopedics, their physicians are not only specialized in orthopedics and clinical research, but they are fellowship trained to treat specific areas of the body. And since 1970, their physicians have remained committed to research, innovation, minimally invasive procedures to get you back to what you specialize in. And for me, that was basketball. It might be something different for you. Maybe it's gardening, maybe it's walking, maybe it's riding a bike, hiking, whatever it could be. They will get you ready and get you back out there. Rothman proudly serves dozens of communities across Pennsylvania and New Jersey with 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers. Year over year, Rothman consistently performs among the highest volume of hip, knee, shoulder, and ankle replacements in the country. Folks, over 60,000 overall. So if you are like me and you want to get back in the action, whatever that may be and whatever it may look like for you, Rothman Orthopedics specialize in orthopedics. And you visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today. I also have to tell you about our presenting sponsor here for the show today, this week, our post-game shows. That is our friends at Bet365. Never ordinary, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And we got a big game tonight, folks. Got a big game. Philadelphia football hosting Washington. It's for the division. Could be for the division. Could be for much better seeding, of course, in the playoffs once they both get there. And tonight is a huge one. And if you pay attention to our shows here and the shows across our PHLY channel, you also know that Jamie Lynch does a show on game days. And today, that is a game day. So let me give you the parlay that Jamie put together already right here for PHLY 365 for the Bet365 collaboration. Jamie put together, it's on the Bet365 app, right there on the homepage as a PHLY boost. It is Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown, A.J. Brown, 75-plus receiving yards, and the money line for the Birds to win the game tonight. That is sitting right now, boosted to plus 450. 140 had been placed already earlier in the day. you might as well jump on that yourselves and get into the game right there with Bet365 and Jamie's selection overall. So here's what you do. You make sure you download the Bet365 app, use code PHLY365 when you sign up to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. How you feeling about the game tonight? By the way, welcome back to the PHLY Sixers show presented by Bet365. How you feeling about it, Derek?
I mean, I'm a worrier by nature, and short weeks make me worry even more.
Both short weeks, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Both.
You can't lose to Josh Harris.
No, you cannot, even though it's looking pretty good for him.
No, they're playing well.
They are playing well. They are.
You just
playing
can't
well.
lose to Josh Harris.
No, you cannot.
Even Sixers fans are like, you got to beat Josh Harris.
Yeah. You can't lose. Can't lose to Josh Harris. You just cannot do it.
I hate short weeks because I think you get a worse product. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah. All right. We guys also have to tell you about a little thing we got going on for Friday night, folks. Sixers taking on the Orlando Magic, and they're taking on the Orlando Magic in Orlando. Game 2 of the NBA Cup. It is on the road. That means we're on the road. Come hang out with us. Myself, Derek, Kyle, Bree, and we hope to see you there. It's a Friday night. You're coming off the good play from the Birds tonight, getting a victory. Back out there tomorrow for the 76ers. You get Joel Embiid and Paul George. And you got the watch party and live show with us from Tir Nanog tomorrow, beginning at 6:30. Game time, 7 o'clock. Post-game, we'll be there with you at this great location. And it's presented by our good friends from Coors Light. We'll have $5 Coors Light flowing and raffles for PHLY swag. Some pretty cool apparel. We saw it out there in our offices ready to go. And 2 tickets for Sixers Magic on December 6th in the club level. That's a pretty darn good ticket in the club seats with parking and $30 in concession credit per ticket as well. So make sure the only way for you to get those tickets for the Magic, which is still a very good team. By the way, they're 3rd in the Eastern Conference. Yep. Without Paolo Banchero, you get a chance to see them at home on December 6th. RSVP for $10, which includes the 2 Coors Lights and raffle tickets to win our PHLY giveaways. Folks, we haven't seen you all season long. Please come hang out with us. Tir Nanog, again, tomorrow beginning at 6:30, our watch party and live show. Sign up. Become a diehard member as well while you're in there. The show tomorrow will be presented by our good friends, again, from Coors Light. Got to win those tickets to see the Sixers Magic. You probably see all 3 All-Stars out there on the floor at that time, we would hope. Big game against a big-time Eastern Conference opponent. So we hope to see you tomorrow. Tir Nanog, 6:30, presented by Coors Light.
Yeah, and look, even without Paolo, I think that's a really fun team to watch and a fun matchup too. Out, yeah, and they can really get after it defensively. So I think that's going to be it's certainly what I'm excited for.
Yeah. All right. So look, Jared McCain, maybe he's trying to punch his ticket to the All-Star game by the time we get to December 6th against the Orlando Magic.
I want to pump the brakes on that a little bit, rookies. I love the who am I to rain on?
Everybody's excited.
Just go for it.
Even at 2-9. Everybody's excited.
It really is. And
Isn't
like,
that wild?
I feel like there's 2 different worlds. There's like one world that is hyper focused on the record. And look, I get they're 2-9. You can't change that. You've brought this up 100 times. There's only 3 teams above 500 in the Eastern Conference. They're 3 games out of the 4 seed with what they've played 11 games, so there's 71 left to play. You have plenty of time to make up 3 games of ground, especially if the health is there. Really, the one bit of pessimism, I don't want to say pessimism, the concern, which I can't alleviate and nobody really can, is the health. But if they're healthy, especially with Jared McCain looking like he's ready to contribute and a good fit, especially with Yabusele, I think, showing that he is a rotation player. If those 2 uncertainties coming into the season prove to be huge pluses, and this team is healthy, and I realize the second part of that is huge and scary. But if those 2 end up being true, 3 games here on November 14th don't concern me at all. And look, I get you want the best seeding possible, but as long as you get like a top 4 seed and you can get that home court, you're not playing in a play-in or any nonsense like that. 3 games just doesn't, like, what's happening now with McCain, I think, is way more important and relevant than being three games behind the Knicks in the 4 seed. And look, again, that's not going to assuage any concerns over the health. And that is something that I don't even know what could make you feel comfortable at this point. We all get the uncertainty and the risk and the downside. But if you do get good luck on that, like I said, I think McCain popping's huge. I think it's huge.
Yeah, so I've been trying to tell everybody, hey, we're just as frustrated because we want to see, as you say at the very beginning of the season, we just want to see good basketball. We've had that as a product for the last couple of seasons, so we're accustomed to that since 2017 of what that looks like. And now that we're in this spot at 2-9, 11 games in, quite possibly 2-10 tomorrow because they are playing the Magic, but you do have Embiid and George back out there on the floor. No Tyrese Maxey just yet. They're 2-9, and there are only 3 teams over 500, and the Magic are the 3rd team, 1 game over 500 at 7-6. So you're still sitting pretty good. The guys will be back. Things will start to level out the way that they're supposed to, and with it, Jared McCain comes into play. So as we say this, and we got a glimpse of what it might look like despite the Tyrese Maxey piece, we have seen Maxey in general on the floor with Jared McCain, with Paul George briefly on the West Coast trip, and then we saw the same with McCain and George against the Charlotte Hornets. And no, we didn't. Did we see him against Charlotte? No, we didn't see him against Charlotte. We saw him against the New York Knicks. That was Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Charlotte?
Yeah.
I think George did play against Charlotte. He did. So now we've seen it. It's a shame.
You're making me doubt myself now.
In and out of the lineup, they're there. But we have seen McCain with each of the 3 guys. Getting a little glimpse of it on Tuesday with both George and Embiid out there. He had a good game. Mm-hmm. He was in the closing lineup. What do you make of that as that translates to a starting role, as you pointed out, that you would like to see going forward?
Yeah, I'm really interested in the way that McCain plays off of Paul George, because Paul George has, I think, frustrated some people with his passing at times, mm-hmm. not even because of the passes he's not making, because some of the passes he is. He's made some just dumbass passes occasionally throughout the course of the early season. But I think he's also, and this is something Kyle and I were talking about the other day on Press Row, he is probably the most capable one of making those skip passes to the corner where you just put him in a pick and roll with Embiid. He can see over the defense, throw it over to the corner a couple stops away, and that's a way to generate open looks that everyone else on this roster, whether it's because of vision or just size, it's mm-hmm. tougher to make those passes when you are Kyle Lowry's size or Tyrese Maxey's size. But he can make those skip passes to the corner easy, and it doesn't take much to force a rotation when you have a Paul George, Joel Embiid pick and roll. And if that happens and he makes the right read, and he's pretty good at making quick, correct decisions, like the vision isn't incredible, but those, like I said, those quick, correct decisions where he's just reacting to, pressure and reacting to the defense rotating, I think he can generate some pretty open looks. And I think Jared McCain specifically, if you put him in the corner there and run a Paul George and Embiid pick and roll, I think he can eat on those corner threes. So I think there's a lot to like there. And then if obviously you get the corner 3 and there's a closeout, he can then attack off the dribble, and he's heady enough to make the right plays and reads out of that closeout. I think he can be a really good fit next to them. I really do. Yeah,
and I'll go back to, again, just what we discussed a little bit earlier about how McCain described playing alongside Joel Embiid. Said it's pretty easy to play with him. You come off the screens and you're wide open.
Or you throw it into him and you wait and you're wide open.
You get him the ball and they double and you're wide open. Yeah, it's pretty simple how easy it is to play off of Joel Embiid. And when we're talking about a fully healthy, for his standards, Joel Embiid, and being back to the MVP level type of player that we know him to be, Jared McCain will have some really good opportunities, and we discussed it so much during the offseason, not knowing it would show itself this early, but comparing him to the level of play with J.J. Redick playing off of Joel Embiid, the same thing for Seth Curry off of Joel Embiid as well, and even Tyrese Maxey for that matter, of what Jared McCain could potentially look like. And we're starting to see some of that already play out, even in the short glimpse that we had on Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah, and really, within the first couple of minutes of McCain checking into the game with Embiid, you saw 2 real quick dribble handoff threes. One of them coming to his left into the center of the court. The other one where he was sort of playing that read and react game that you used to see with Embiid and JJ Redick so often. And did that look the most natural, the read and react game? No, because it was almost literally the first time they've done it together, and certainly the first time they did it in live game action. But he still got 2 wide open shots. And that's why I just think with their skill sets, they mesh so perfectly well. And I do think Jared has the diversity in his shot, the footwork to get his mechanics right. I think he is going to be a real dynamite, DHO or off-screen shooter. I think it might take a little bit of time to really fully maximize that, but I think by a little bit of time, this time almost literally mean a little bit of time. I think they can pick up on that pretty quickly. And by the time you get to January, February, there could be some real chemistry there and something that could develop over the course of years. So I think, I think it's easy in its base sense in that if he just makes open shots next to Embiid, he will be valuable. But I also think there's room to grow with that 2-man game that I think they should get to pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, think about once again when we were out there at Summer League, not even training camp, but Summer League, when we were watching him go through these drills in the practice session afterwards, where he is working with the coaching staff, working with TJ DeLeo, Reggie Redding, and Rico Hines, and running through everything and making sure that what we're seeing now, these 32-foot 3-pointers that he's taking easily and making them, by the way, and getting those off with the no-dip 3-pointers. And we were watching him missing those in practice. We said the footwork is good. The shot looks well. The form is fine.
Just not going in.
He squares up.
Yep.
It's just not falling. And then it kept translating into the Summer League games. Yep. We were wondering, how's this gonna work when he's playing against these other guys that are NBA All-Stars, all NBA defensive players, which we're going to see, by the way, in Jalen Suggs on Friday. That's going to be a nice test for him against Jalen Suggs and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope when they switch off of those guys. Anthony Black also getting some time there with the Orlando Magic, good defender from Arkansas. So we were wondering, how's all this going to work out? Well, so far, again, we don't think we're overreacting. We're basing it off of what we're seeing in the moment for right now and how it could translate as we're talking about starting with these other players. The guys look really, really good. And those things, the working, the profile that we talked about on draft night, despite the negative things that we did have to say, the positive things that we discussed and talked about were hard worker, tough as nails, can shoot the basketball, and is going to go out there and fight and try to win those games. And everything that he talked about from his introductory press conference to having those conversations at Summer League, the same at training camp to where he is right now, incorporating his meditation, how important that is to him, how he sizes these things up in the moment from 3-point range, from the free throw line when he's taking his time there. He is perfect from the free throw line, by the way. And that's also a good thing because if he is in the game and they're trying to get the ball to him at the end of the closing situations in a close game, that they could put the ball in his hands and watch him go up to the free throw line and knock down the free throws like he did against Charlotte. Well, we also saw some veterans miss those free throws in that moment. This guy is living up and even taking us well beyond the expectations that we had for him at game number 11 now in this season for Jared McCain. By the way, in the 4 games that he has played, the last 4 games, 25.5 points per game while shooting well over 40%.
I forget what the exact stat is, but there are only like a handful of rookies in Sixers history who have scored 100 points in 4 games. It's like Joel Embiid, Wilt, Iverson, and there might be like one more. It's very, very rare.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable start for the kid. Should he be starting? Right now, we agree that he should. We'll continue this conversation with Jared McCain, tap into a few other things. We got a few images to show you from something that dropped a little bit earlier today. We'll get your thoughts on that as well on this Thursday, ahead of the Sixers Magic Game 2 NBA Cup tomorrow night. We're discussing Jared McCain and his starting role potentially with this group right here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast.
And look, Jared McCain has helped make this tough start to the Sixers season just a little bit easier. So we want to give you something to make a task that is inherently tough just a little bit easier. Specifically, we're talking about flooring and with Empire Today. If you're like me, home improvement projects are just something that I'm not good at. They look daunting. I don't know how to get started. I avoid them because of that. Empire Today really is a place you want to turn to if flooring is one of those things for you. With Empire Today, you get shop-at-home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. Empire Today is so good that they have some copycats, but those copycats can't beat Empire Today on quality, service, or speed, so they advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire Today keeps shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need, not to overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles. And Empire Today has a virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. You just snap a picture and you can instantly see how the floors will look in your room. Flooring is all Empire Today does. They live and breathe flooring, so you can be confident you're getting honest, upfront advice. They also service their own warranties, so with Empire Today, you won't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use a promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY for details. We also want to make sure we tell you about TrueMark. Specifically, they have a rewards Visa credit card. With the TrueMark Financial Reward Visa credit card, you earn rewards for each purchase using the card and redeem them for travel and retail gift cards. You can build credit through timely payments and low credit utilization. You enjoy fraud protection with features like zero liability. Also want to make sure you know about some of the other saving options you have with TrueMark Financial. They have a traditional savings account, which is a basic savings account offering a place to deposit funds, earn interest, and withdraw money as needed. There's a money market account, which combines features of savings and checking accounts, offering a higher interest rate and limited check writing capabilities, easy access to your money when you need it. And then finally, there is a certificate, a fixed-term deposit account with a predetermined interest rate and maturity date, offering higher interest rates for locking in funds for a specific period. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA as an equal opportunity lender. For more information, visit truemark.com/PHLY.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers show presented by Bet365. Make sure you go ahead and Bet365 your way into a victory tonight as the Birds take on the Commanders in this highly important game tonight. The Eagles are at 7-2. Looking to take sole control of the NFC East with a victory over this team tonight. So make sure you get ready for all of that here tonight. I can't wait to watch that game.
I just want to say, we mentioned her a lot, but Bree is an absolute pro. I sat there. I just need a little drink. After talking for like 2 minutes straight, she cut to the solo cam for Devon. I was able to sneak that in. You didn't even have to watch me. That is, and of course I point that out afterwards because why not make it awkward? But she is an absolute professional.
She always does that. She always does that. Even when I get ready to take a drink, she does the very same thing. Bree is the absolute best. All right, just a few other things. Anything that really stood out to you last night in that one? They were competitive. They kept it close. Caleb Martin, Kelly Oubre even played much better. Yabusele, we discussed. We didn't even mention him as a starting spot, but we like Caleb Martin in that role in particular. But anything else stand out to you last night that gave you a little bit of positive vibes?
I mean, it really was just the ball movement was so much better. And I thought, I know Rich said it on the show, but I thought it was true. That was one of Nick Nurse's better games. Look, I'm trying to think of a way I can make this point without bringing up his name. The one thing people criticize him, he's not like Doc Rivers where he can scale up when they're out all their stars and try to steal a game. I thought last night they did a good job of that. And like I said, I think part of that is Yabusele does a really good job of helping move the ball. And I think because of that, they were able to get some good threes. But they just moved the ball well. They pushed in transition, even if you weren't getting all the way to the rim to get opportunities. And when you add that in with McCain having a breakout game and players like Caleb Martin and Kelly Oubre making shots, whether that's from the perimeter or more specifically drives and pull-up shots that they weren't making earlier in the season, they were able to play a little bit over their heads. But I thought they competed pretty well defensively for the first half specifically. Part of that was it looked like players like Mitchell were just a little bit disengaged in the first half. That tends to happen. But I thought the compete level was really high throughout the game. So it was fun to watch because of that. And they really had a chance to, even Reggie Jackson. And I've been pretty down on Reggie for most of the season. I don't really want to see him on the floor all that often. But I thought specifically defensively, and he made some shots, but I thought defensively he really showed that he still has a little bit left in him on that floor. I don't love his shot selection most nights. He made it last night. They needed him last night. But for the most part, I question that and I question the role. But he competed defensively and he used his size, his wingspan to challenge some shots even at the rim. It was just, I thought, a really impressive performance for a team that was very undermanned.
I like how they competed as well. And I like the fact that we talk about officials a lot and how they can insert themselves into the game and take away from the enjoyment of the game because they blow the whistle too much, calling some cheap fouls as well. I thought they really let them play in the first quarter where they allowed themselves to the players to dictate how the game was going to go. And the Cavs were looking for a lot of calls last night, but they weren't getting them. They were simply not getting those calls because the Sixers were playing some good basketball, whether it was swipe down strip from Caleb Martin, Kelly Oubre. Jared McCain got his hands in there a little bit when we talk about his toughness and his lack of defensive presence out there on the floor and how he can be taken advantage of. Saw him digging in there a little bit and get his hands on a few basketballs and get a steal and go the other way, or just at least create a stealing opportunity for his teammates. And I appreciate the officials letting them play the game last night where there wasn't too many stoppages, where there weren't too many free throws, where we were questioning things overall like we have seen through the first probably 10 games where we had some questions about the officials and what they were doing. But they fought last night. They competed really well. And with that competition, you hope that now carries over, especially when you have your two stars sitting there watching how you're playing, that it doesn't take away from who you are, how you can help, how you contribute when they're back out there on the floor starting on Friday with this 3-game road trip upcoming with not only Orlando, but Miami and Memphis to follow before coming back to Philadelphia. So I enjoyed a lot of what they did last night. Just to get back to the Tuesday game against the New York Knicks, since I didn't have a chance to talk with you about it, even though we saw some minutes with Yabusele.
Bread with the enemy. That's all right. We love you anyway.
I did. You had a chance to talk to the enemy, so it was all good. Well, you didn't get a chance to talk to the enemy, but you saw Jack, and you got a chance to see Jack and all. But I liked, even in the short time that we saw Yabusele out there on Embiid, it wasn't what we wanted to see, but it was something to take away from. Nick Nurse is going to go with him at that 4 spot like we've talked about a lot.
Yeah. No, and certainly, like, we have spoken, I feel like, about Yabusele as a backup center a lot. There are some just obvious limitations. And he's sort of like McCain in that try as hard as he might, be in positions well. And I think Yabusele, for the most part, is positionally pretty sound. Same thing with Jared. There's just some, players are going to be able to shoot over you, whether that's at the rim with Yabusele or on the perimeter with Jared. There's some limitations there. And I think, we all sort of agree that he is a little more natural as a 4. Still not a super high usage 3, but he's shooting the ball well enough where, I think you're going to see a lot of that. I also think he's been better than Drummond as a backup center, so I think you're going to see him play both positions quite a bit. But just like I said, the effort, the willingness to mix it up inside, but also step out on the perimeter, the being able to move the ball, being positionally sound. I am just at the point where I really want players who I can trust in their decision-making and their processing and their effort and their engagement. He checks all of those boxes. And with that, I will live with the limitations. But I'm interested to see him next to Embiid for sure. And see whether or not he can continue to maintain what do you think he plays 20-ish minutes maybe? Like, I don't think he's going to be playing 30 minutes per night, especially when all 3 of the stars get back. Yeah. But if you're playing him 20 minutes per 22. Night and he's splitting that time between center and power forward, maybe do that a little judiciously and be able to do it strategically based on the matchups and what you need from him. I think having that kind of versatility, and this sort of goes with the same thing with McCain too. People are going to want to be like, oh, well, should he be the point guard? Should he be the shooting guard? Yada, yada. Just being able to competently switch between both roles, whether that's McCain as a 1-2 or Yabusele as a 4-5, depending on team needs, that's a great boost. It's a great boost.
How does McCain help Maxey in that role if they're starters? Because both you would like to see them play off the ball because of their scoring ability, but both are going to have to be on the ball to also create for others, even with Paul George and Joel Embiid out there on the floor. So how do you see that as those two playing? We've talked about them playing next to each other and starting, but you still want McCain to be able to shoot the basketball and score.
Yep. And you still want Maxey to be able to do that as well. And that's really the key too. Like, Maxey is one of the best shooters in the world, like on the planet. Mm-hmm. So again, I think there's going to be a lot of people being like, oh, well, this guy's a point guard, this guy's not. Put, McCain at point guard because Maxey is not a great passer. And I think that's, I think we get reductive at times in the way we have these debates. And I think we like to force debates. And that's something that our industry has sort of played a role in. I don't think it really needs to be a debate. One player might play 60% of the time at, with the ball in his hands and 40% of the time off, or maybe 65-35. You can even switch which one's which. The key is that, like I said, they both can. But I think the fact that you have a point guard or a guard who can run the point, regardless of whether he's doing it 30% of the time or 60% of the time, is just huge for Maxey because it allows him to get some easy shots. It allows him to, run off balls, off screens, off of even Iverson cuts to try to get him to spots where he can shake a defender without trying to create everything for himself. And the fact that you have a guy in McCain who can, get to his spots in the middle of the floor and spray the ball around, who can, shoot coming off of a screen with Joel Embiid. It's just great to have options and being able to, like we've seen Nick Nurse try with so many flawed players to try to get Maxey a chance to run off screens. We've seen Caleb Martin bring the ball up. Caleb Martin can't pass.
No.
We've seen Kelly Oubre. I'm not even sure Kelly Oubre knows you're allowed to pass, and they've had him bring the ball up just because they're trying to find a way where Tyrese Maxey doesn't have to self-create everything. So the fact that you have a guy who can, be an elite catch and shoot shooter, and I think Jared McCain eventually will be, who can also then run a pick and roll and make good reads out of it, it's just an incredible bonus that this team hasn't had.
All right, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you about this, Derek, because we're a big Ricky Council show.
Yeah.
We like to have fun about Ricky Council, getting them out there on the floor. He had an opportunity last night to play 11 minutes. He was 0 for 4, 0 for 2 from 3, and didn't really impact the game, didn't really take advantage of the minutes last night. He was a little all over the place for my liking, for us to be a go-get-'em Rick type of show and having fun with it and seeing a spot for a wing out there and Yabusele, KJ Martin certainly in front of him right now. He has not taken advantage of the minutes that are given to him, and it is pretty tough to see that one play out the way that it's playing. What were your thoughts of his minutes last night?
Well, his best play was when he had that wild transition attempt where it ended up being a pass off the backboard.
That was our strong and wrong play of last night. Strong was the Adembona rebound putback dunk. The wrong, though, was the wild attempt.
To be fair, now he committed hard to that transition run. He filled a lane competently, but he was completely out of control.
Under control. Yeah.
No, look, I think Ricky's instincts aren't necessarily great to begin with. Like, he wants to attack off the dribble at every second. He wants to, hang in the air and try to draw that foul and make that circus layup. So I think he has to fight his instincts naturally. And when he's only playing once every 3 games, when he's only playing 5 minutes at a time, I think his instincts probably get even worse. He plays to his worst instincts. Look, I want Ricky to work out. Like, he's so good at drawing fouls. He can bully people off the dribble. He has some talent, and certainly he has the tools to be a good defender. The decision-making is, and I know it's tough when you're only playing, like I said, once every 3 games and 5 minutes at a time. It's real tough to keep yourself in check, but if he doesn't keep himself in check, he's not going to get more than that. And I'm just not sure whether it's a mentality thing or a point in his career thing or a pressing thing. I'm just not sure I have confidence that he's going to win over the trust of Nick Nurse. And certainly last night wasn't going to help.
Yes, we bring him up because this is a Ricky show. Freddie Powell says, "Go get him, Rick." And it's like, yeah. And then you have Remo K. Get him next time, Rick. Because he did not go get him last night. Boots says, time to have an honest conversation about Ricky. And we also have in here our teammate here on the PHLY Sixers show, Roy Burton, saying Ricky Council did not, in fact, get them
he did not.
Last night. He did not. And it is tough because Fidel Castro here says...
not going to say the whole name?
Yeah. Well, I just like the fact that it's Fidel Castro coming back to life to come into our chats to watch the show. Ricky's Fidel Castro of the strip club. Ricky's instincts are to be on ball, and that's not really what this team needs. So on that play, though, even though we gave it the strong and wrong, it's the idea of we've seen him do that before and take advantage of a situation like that. Him downhill with some open space with a defender, quite frankly, that he could have probably scored over, or even doing the thing that we criticize him for, but he's more comfortable. And that's not the reverse layup. That's the one getting up into the body of the defender, double pumping while he's in the air, using that hang time to then get the shot off the glass to go in, maybe picking up a foul. Now, he's lucky he had a Adembona there to clean him up, but I'd imagine when they go look at that film ahead of this game tomorrow against the Orlando Magic, that's something that the coaching staff is going to point out and say, Rick, what were you doing right here? because that was not a good play.
Yeah.
And he had a three-pointer. We know he now has a thing about taking these 30-foot threes.
That honestly drives me insane.
The first one from the left.
You are not known of being a good, three-point shooter, and specifically not a good catch and shoot 3 points. That's one of the things. Look, you made some progress last year, and I think we all appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because he was awful in college, like flat out awful. So the progress was good to see, but you still have to establish that you are an actual credible 3-point shooter. I think you had all of 12 makes last year. You cannot be spotting up 5 feet behind the 3-point line. It's one thing to do that when you're tightly guarded. He'll be alone with 10 feet of space, and he's just lackadaisically wandering 5 feet behind the 3-point line. What are you doing? Don't make the shot harder for yourself. Get on the 3-point line, hug that line, and either make that shot or attack a closeout. What are you doing? It drives me insane.
Money Mark called him Steph Council because he has the range. He thinks he's Steph now. But no, you're absolutely right, man. It hurts, man. It hurts to talk about Rick in this way, but we're doing it. It's tough love.
And look,
we want him to get out there and take some of those minutes. Tough love.
I'm in no way writing off Ricky Council.
No.
He's got way too much athletic ability to do that.
Yeah.
But part of the reason you invest in 4 or 5 young kids, the collection they have here with McCain and Ricky and Bona and the
Justin Edwards,
two-way guys, whatever, is for the hopes that one of them will hit. So if you end up, all right, maybe Ricky doesn't pan out. And again, I am in no way writing him off just because of the physical tools. But if 3 of them don't pan out, but one of them really hits in McCain, that would be a good outcome.
Yep. Come on, Rick. Got to get back to going to get him. Go get him, Rick. All right. Also, some big news today, Derek. I actually thought, because I did not ask ahead of time, I remember, and when I did say it on our show on Monday, and I said, they're going to wear their City Edition uniforms against the Knicks, I was told already when they were going to wear them, and I totally
blanked it was not public?
And didn't realize that I said that out loud just because the court was going to be the NBA Cup court. And all. But maybe they'll wear it for the next NBA Cup game. They'll wear these jerseys. Let's take a look at a couple of these images from the 76ers. Look at that. Look at those right there. Huh? Caleb Martin, Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey, and Kelly Oubre in the Spectrum era white, not blue, City Edition 2024-25 uniforms. I loved the navy ones.
I agree with that.
They were the best ones, hands down. These are very good, though.
Yeah, and I think
they're very clean.
Because originally I saw it. First of all, I had the navy blue in my head, and I thought that made the whole uniform work. And this was just
look at the hat, folks. That's the one.
This was just a variation of white uniforms that I thought they had better versions of. So I liked the blue one because it was unique, and I had to throw back to the Spectrum. And this one, it's it kind of just feels like another white jersey that, like I said, they already have ones that I like better. But I think now that I'm seeing more of it, I do really like some of the Spectrum touches.
Yeah.
So some of my initial skepticism, I certainly think I like it more. Like I said, I think I like some of the Spectrum throwbacks. It's just tough for me because I really like those blue ones. I really like those.
You can still get the blue ones.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But I think that paints my picture of when I look at these.
Yeah, but these are tough, man, because these are very, very clean. I mean, sometimes a white is very good. We've seen the cream that they had a couple of years ago where it had the Philadelphia in that in the cursive font, or you had, I don't know, one of the other creams or the gray. But the white sometimes, if you get it done correctly, obviously it's clean because they're fresh jerseys, but these are real clean, man. And you really had to put it together the right way to follow that navy that they had a couple of years ago. And I think they hit on these. They didn't miss. Yeah. They hit on them.
No, I agree.
They hit on them. So a lot of people are liking them. I think I saw Jess bought a jersey. I saw she was having a conversation with some people in there saying that she bought a jersey. I don't know if anybody else bought a jersey, but I went to the website and I looked at the website to see what other things, because it's not just about the jersey. And I'm not here to push for the Sixers and sell their merchandise. They're doing just well, even though these dope hats, I don't even think they sold these, but we had them.
Fon's got the special hookup.
Sometimes. The stuff that they put together there, it's the quarter zips, the sweatshirts, the sweatpants, or the hoodies with this one, this time white with the red font. they did it pretty well, man, when you look at the website and you see the other apparel that they have for this uniform.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I kind of like about the City Edition, and look, at some point, I like jerseys, so when they leave, it annoys me, and I think that's part of the thing I dislike about the City Edition.
Mm-hmm.
And in part, it's just there's a reality of it's impossible to change jersey every year and hit. Like, you're just going to have some duds when you're trying to come up with a new version every year. But I do like the fact that, like, we all have our own personal preferences. And in the past, if you didn't like your team's main jerseys, you were just kind of screwed. Like, there was no alternative. Here, if you don't like this year's, that's great. You have 2 years ago that maybe you like, or next year you'll fall in love with.
Yep.
You can cater to each individual personal preference, and it can be timeless because it's something that is going to always represent your team. So I think I'm kind of, becoming more drawn to the City Edition jerseys than maybe I was 5 years ago.
Yeah. So Cobes, what up, Kobe? Great show as always, Kobe. Says, I know Devon is copping a pair of shorts. I'm a big shorts guy. You get the shorts right, they go a long way with what the top is, because you get the shorts going and you're in a pretty good spot. And I'm not going to cop the shorts. They'll probably give me some shorts, but I won't cop them shorts and buy them. But yes, the shorts are really dope. Love the Spectrum logo on the side with the Spectrum actually in the middle of the logo. Yep. And how it all looks. Love the S on the waistline of they're not Skims, but they are. It's a nice little S there on the waistline of the Spectrum short. So I think they got these right. I think they put these together right. Who do you think will be the best seller? There's some competition now.
Of what?
Of the team, just the players. Of which jersey will sell the best. Or how about this? Give me the top three.
I mean, it's tough in part because I feel like a lot of people who would want an Embiid jersey probably already have one. Mm-hmm. But then again, certainly you can get multiple of a player, and I think a lot of people will.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably just a boring answer. Like Paul George because he's new. And then, honestly, it's probably just the 3 stars. With McCain maybe sneaking in there as a 4th.
McCain sneaks in there, man. I think.
But I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if he's gonna bump one of those 3 out. Who do you think he bumps out? Is it PG?
Probably George.
Just because there's not that kind of like shared history, like
because people will continue to want to get to 21.
A rookie is ours, whereas Paul George is just coming in.
Right. Yeah. Maxey is yours. He's number 0. They just like that. Embiid, to your point, they keep doing it overall, right? They keep buying Embiid jerseys, but people who like Embiid and want to continue to buy his jersey, they want every variation of an Embiid jersey because he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And then if McCain continues this and keep this up, if there's one, he might bump out Paul George.
Right.
If there's one.
I could see that. Like a lot of times the new stars just tend to get, because nobody has a Paul George Sixers jersey. So like a lot of times those rise to the top. But he is older. He is the 3rd star. The 2 stars are already so entrenched that I could see that.
Especially one that they think will be here for a long time. They'll definitely go. Even with the 4-year contract, they'll go with McCain. Roy also says the quarter zip is fire. Yes, it is.
Quarter zip is always. Yep.
Quarter zip is the way to go. No question about it. The way to go is to say thank you to all of you here at the end of the show, because we were presented by our good friends from Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Time for the world famous roll call.
And again, Friday's event. We would love to see you there. Go to allphly.com/events.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, for the roll call, man.
Not going to do a shout out to the person who hijacked our chat for most of the show. You do not get any more attention than you've already gotten. Hedva, FI7, Eugene Ross.
What up, Gene?
Brian Knight.
The Knight.
Vaughn Self. Switch 213. Winona.
Hey, Nona.
Line Wen. Rick Morse.
What up, Ricky?
2-minute warning.
Go get him, Rick. What up, Al?
Jess with the Purple Heart.
Hey, Jess.
Bootzilla.
Boots.
Will Howard.
Oh, Will Howard.
Fidel Castro, which you already pointed out.
Fidel welcome.
Not actually Fidel Castro, just Fidel Castro of the strip club.
Yes.
Very key differentiation.
Yes. But we like Fidel Castro being on the show.
Yeah. Freddie Powell.
What up, Fred?
Roy Burton.
Roy.
Our guy.
Yes.
Remo K. Colby Colbs.
Kobe, great show.
Jamie. Mellow 3-point. Did I say Bootzilla? I think I said Bootzilla. And of course, Darkness. Which I
Turn
won't do
the lights
Kyle's
down.
way, but
we can give another Boots. here at the end of the show.
Yeah, you can always get a boost.
Yeah, you can always get a boost. Again, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you do or have been watching here, you can watch on television once again, because we are not only with Roku and Samsung. We have a new television channel at Xfinity. We like Xfinity.
Yeah.
Yes. They're part of the show now.
Yeah.
Yes.
A little awkward. Anyway.
Well,
you mention other companies.
The other one. Yes. Yes, the other one. So you make sure.
Kyle has made his opinions quite clear on that.
Make sure you check us out on those channels on television. We all have faces for the tube right there on television.
I have a face for radio. I don't know. You're giving me way too much credit.
I do have a face for radio. I had it for 16 years. I had a face for radio. And
to be clear, I didn't say you did. I said I did.
I said I did. Yeah. And now we have a face for tube. You get to see Bree on there from time to time as well. We love it when Bree jumps in there, but we're on the television side of things as well, so we appreciate it. Tierna Nogue tomorrow, 6:30, and I will be hanging with you from 6:30.
Real quick before you leave. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Watch party, live show.
Of all the things that interrupt, you don't interrupt about the watch party and the live show. What are you doing, Derek? Jesus.
It's quite all right. 1600 Arch Street is the address, so we hope to see you all there. And Embiid and George will be playing.
An idiot I can be sometimes. Anyway, Bree ran a poll, and they're asking, basically taking the temperature on the 2-9 start, whether it was too soon, feeling fine, or that you're just naturally a pessimist. What do you think? Well, you got it up. 44%.
No, I actually don't.
44% saying it's too soon to tell. 42% saying that they are feeling fine. So of the people who responded, 86% are not jumping off a bridge, which I'm a little surprised about.
Which I'm happy to see.
Yeah.
Because they realize there's 70 games left to play. What did you say? 71 games left to play. Yes, exactly. Who knows? They might win 20 of 25 in some stretch. I don't know. And then what will we be talking about? Hey, remember when they start off 2-9? Yeah. Look at them. They're in the top 4 right now in the Eastern Conference in terms of standings, and nobody wants to play them.
No, if Embiid is healthy, and again, that's a monster if that I can't reassure you about.
Big if.
But if that is the case, they could be in the 4th seed by like Christmas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, who wins tonight, everybody? Birds, Commanders. Who wins tonight? Derek, who you got?
I mean, I'm not picking against the Birds.
Not at all. Not at all. Hot team right now, man. Hot team right now. Bree, who you got tonight? Birds, go Birds. Everybody, of course, we won't be talking go Birds, but we will bring it up, I'm sure, at some point tomorrow, especially if they win. Maybe even on social media, you'll see us tweeting about the game actually taking place. For Bree and for Derek and for all of you, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Once again, our show was brought to you by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. We hope to see you tomorrow from Tierna Nogue at 6:30 for Sixers Magic. Have a great rest of your night. Enjoy the game. Go Birds. See you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.